So, welcome to the Besides the Lawn podcast. We have Alistair Suttie, who's fighting in the by-election for Alistair Hunter's job.
That's correct, yeah.
So, basically, I'm going to pass to Craig, being the smartest part of this team. So, I'm going to pass on to you, man.
Now everybody expects something.
Yep, that's just...
You knew Alistair, didn't you?
Was it?
Hunter.
I knew him. I used to work with him at the... slightly, at Buckheim Theatre when he was there. Is he still there? He was doing the kinetic thing?
He was, obviously. He's not now. He's in
Oh,
Australia.
yeah, he's away now. Totally.
He's in Australia. But yeah, he was there for quite a while. He did a lot of good work, I think.
So I knew Ali through that. So that's my basic knowledge of Ali. So basically.
Yeah, that was his area. Youth theatre, youth education. So he did a lot with that. Very good job he did as well.
Definitely.
But he's away now.
He is away, absolutely. He's making everyone jealous with his Facebook posts and his Barbies and swimming in the pool before the
He's got like Hawaiian shorts and a terrible shirt and stuff like that.
He's like that anyway. Yeah. He's like that before we left, you know.
He's going to be really annoying.
He's doing a lot of
Christmas.
cycling. He does. I don't know if he picked up on that before he left. He got into cycling, so he's been doing these long runs in the 38 degrees heat and high humidity, which he'll take a while to get used to, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But he's enjoying it. He seems to be enjoying it.
Can you imagine how bitter people are going to be at Christmas when he's sitting at the pool in Christmas?
Just always remember though, he's in Australia. There's spiders there.
Aye, that's
Absolutely.
mental.
So we're fine here. We've got the
Have you seen the huntsman
Nice.
spider?
Oh, yeah.
Wow, that's ridiculous. There's no need for that.
just absolutely worrisome. Like
Yeah.
scares me to death.
You know, he's not even got to Christmas and he's making folk bitter, I think. Yeah. I'm telling him he should be out here, you know, pounding the streets of Kennoway, working for me. Never mind sun in the sun.
Aye.
But good luck to him. I hope his family seem to be liking it, and I hope they do well.
Excellent.
Quality. Right, well, I suppose we'll start off with an intro to yourself.
Yeah, Alistair Suttie, born and bred in Windigates. I was there I've stayed in Windigates between 20 and 30 years, maybe even 35 years in total. I was away to Edinburgh to work for a wee while, but my mum and my sister was still in Windigates, so I was back virtually every weekend. So yeah, Windigates was a great place to grow up in. You go back before the days of the bypass. We used to have this fantastic play area down the back of the park. You guys are probably too young to remember it, but it was called, between the park and the distillery, there was this play area called the Trenches, and it was great for young guys, you know, playing commandos or cowboys and whatever. Absolutely brilliant. But it was a good time growing up with a good bunch of guys. I went away to Edinburgh to work, and while I was in Edinburgh, I met my now wife, who comes from Methil Hill. So we got married in 1990. I moved back here and sort of been in the area ever since. We stayed in Buckheim a while, or Buckheim as we know it, of course. And then we moved back up to Windigates for 10, 11 years. So, and then just moved out to Leven about 6 years ago. So, like I say, born and bred in Windigates, we started, as far as community involvement's concerned, we started Windigates Community Council back in the late 70s, I think it was. Myself and Davy Alexander got involved in a few local issues, things like, at that time it was Rights Away. Folk were, that was just kind of when a few building sites were going up, Common Crescent and Windigates, and folk were getting worried that the paths that they'd walked with their dogs or even just, you know, for leisure were starting to get encroached on. So there was a big thing about rights away at that time. So that was good. Moving on from there, I got involved in the 90s with Cameron Hospital. By that time, my mum was up there kind of permanently, but there was a bit of a threat to the hospital, and that, Fife Health Board were looking at savings. There had already been 2 or 3 of the wards closed, sitting mothballed, so there was a real threat that the whole place would close. So I got together with some of the staff, some of the relatives that had folk in there, and we started Callan Support Group. Kicked it off with a petition, usual thing, going round doors, standing leaving the high street. I remember it was bitter cold. It must have been the winter. Mind you, it doesn't have to be the winter to be cold on leaving high street, unfortunately. But we did the petition thing, and we went and spoke with Fife Health Board and the managers there. And we weren't just saying, you've got to keep this open, it's vital it's kept open. We went with a plan to reopen some of the wards, make them introduce a rehab ward, things like that. So use the space, and we won. The hospital was still there. There's 2 of the wards at least have been reopened, one of which is a rehab ward. So I'm delighted at my part in that, and I think we're pretty influential in doing that. Coming right up to date, the last 4 years I've been chairman of Leven Community Council, and got involved in a few of the things. A big thing being we had put a new memorial in to the gardens down at Prom for the Polish forces. There was a small memorial there already. We managed to get, I don't know if you know David Mach, he's a local artist, kind of international renowned artist. We got him involved. His family was Polish. His dad was Polish. Had served in the paratroopers, which was the regiment that got trained along at Largo House. So he was keen to come on board. He did obviously charge for his work, but he came up with this nice plaque which was set in a huge stone. It looks really nice. So that was quite a big project. I was pretty pleased in that. We got most of the money from the Common Good Fund, which Leven has, and the Fife Council helped as well, so it was good. And we had a couple of days, we actually had the command, the Major General Sosabowski, who was his great grandson is a scientist down in South England, lives in London. I think he works at Brighton University. We got him up. He does lectures on what his great granddad did, and the whole Polish forces thing within the UK. And some great stories. So we had him on the Saturday, and then on the Sunday was the unveiling of the monument. It was a fantastic day. If you go online and go on YouTube, you'll find it on YouTube if you look for Polish Memorial Leven. It was a great day that we had. So that was a big project. And then we started Promfest. We've had that a couple of years with varying degrees of success, but what we like to do is to try and generate interest in the community, get the community involved. It is a struggle. It's a struggle getting folk on community council. Kind of see the same faces all the time, but nevertheless they're keen. We work closely with Leven Environment Group, who do all the hanging baskets, do a lot of litter pickups, tidy up area. Litter is a big bugbear of mine. It really is the kind of almost epidemic proportions.
There's almost no point to litter as well.
Well,
there's no need for it.
No, there isn't.
There's no need.
No.
At all. That annoys me as well.
It annoys me coming home. I work a night shift at the moment, and driving home from Dunfermline, I can follow a trail from the McDonald's and the retail. But nothing against it. It's not McDonald's fault. It's the customers.
It's the customers, right?
McDonald's and the retail park. I can follow the trail all the way home. Folk flying the rubbish out the window, out the car windows. It's so annoying. We can do these litter pickups. next day, 2 days later, it's bad as well.
See, that's laziness. But what I hate is seeing a smashed bottle somewhere. Because that shows intent to cause damage. Which is totally pointless.
Yeah.
And it's not as if you can go with a litter picker and pick up a glass bottle. That requires some sort of safety.
Yeah.
It requires a shovel, at least.
Yeah.
So it's not, it's pointless and it's damaging and it costs extra money for no reason whatsoever. I hate it.
Yeah. So that's my kind of community involvement. On a personal level, I've worked virtually all my career until the last year or so in IT. I'm a software tester, so folk change their systems, I go along and make sure the changes work. Folk write a new system, I go along and make sure that it does what they want it to do.
What kind of software is this that you're working with? That you're doing
I'd say it's mostly commercial, although I have had worked on things like an army recruitment drive, which is, I think it will be in the future on all platforms, on web-based and Android-based, phone-based systems. So basically, folk can go in and scroll through the army careers stuff. Right. The company I was working with doing that, they do things like, they call it gamification, which basically is putting real life situations and using CGI graphics to portray different situations. So they do a lot of work with Scottish Fire Service, so they can. What I can do is show the trainee firemen whatever various situations that might occur, what might happen if they do take one action and what might happen if they take another action, that sort of thing. So it's used across the board. Mainly my career has been in banks and financial industry, but the other couple of government things I've done is excuse me, HMRC, the online tax returns, and MOD, the logistics stuff. All very...
So nothing that people would like you for.
Exactly. Exactly,
so as long as that's
absolutely. A couple of financial things, I suppose, mortgage applications, I've worked on that kind of thing for various banks, but nothing too public facing and they would actually enjoy doing, unfortunately. I was working permanently and then I went back contract, and unfortunately contracts are kind of dried up a wee bit, and I'm working at Amazon now.
Oh, right. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
A friend of yours is really hatred of Amazon. He cannot stand Amazon.
But that's shared by quite a few people as well, to be fair.
Yeah, including the people that work there.
How was it up there? They put out an advert, sort of like talking about the kind of workforce and making everybody was quite happy in this advert, as they usually are for
is
the
that true or is that?
corporations. Is it terrible?
No, it's not terrible. No, I wouldn't. I've been glad at work. Put it that way. They're like every other employer. They want their pound of flesh. Yeah, it can be very hard work. Just now, it's you're run off your feet. Just now,
Christmas, aye.
There are other times when it's not so busy. It's all target driven. You know, your work, and it could be on a day-to-day basis. They say they're coaching you, and try to encourage you, and that is in the main generally. If you've not got the right mindset, I can see that folk would take offence to it and kind of crack under the strain, if you like. Yeah, it is what it is. It's a high volume, high workflow place to work.
That's kind of what you expect when you're going in as well. Anybody that goes in thinking they're going to have like a nice wee time, a wee coffee sitting beside their wee station.
No, a lot of the issue people have with them is the pay.
Aye.
The fact that they're asking for this hard pay and they're paying wages that are forcing people to go on tax credits at the same time. And then,
I mean, they're not the only.
Also,
ones.
the fact they didn't pay for the building is also a big.
I know that is that's annoying, and
don't pay their taxes.
Don't pay their.
They're not. Well, I can understand why people hate them. To be honest,
yeah. The thing is, needs must. I'd rather do that than go through the benefits system and looking at the sanctions. We've all heard the horror stories about the sanctions that are imposed on folk because they can't turn up.
It's pretty degrading. Have you ever been unemployed?
Well, no, not for a long time. No, not under this current system. Certainly,
my mum went in once. She wasn't even unemployed at this point. She went in to check something. She was just sitting there. She was going to ask a question, and the look she was getting for the people working at the job centre were ridiculous. There was no need for it. You just seem to be nothing to them.
Yeah,
you're just dirt on the bottom of their shoe, and they didn't care. And that's the DWP is supposed to be one of the best parts about a civilised society, is that if you lose your job, you've got a safety net. And they've ruined it by treating people like shit.
Well, that's it. There's absolutely no excuse for treating people badly. There really isn't. For whatever reason, and the DWP employees should realise that the vast majority of folk going through the system want to work. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Yes, you'll always get chancers, but the vast majority of folk would want some sort of work, and they should be treated with respect. Absolutely.
The older people that were there, I was in a 12-week programme with a guy that I think he was in his 50s, late 50s, and he was saying that every time he went to an interview, he was dismissed as soon as he got to the interview. People just didn't seem to want people with that age.
Well, that's one of the reasons I think I've been not picking up some IT work. I know that for a fact. That my age is a problem. When they see me, I think, oh, right.
Do they just think, he doesn't care what he's talking about, sort of thing? He's not going to care.
I think they're expecting some young dude,
but not too young either. Well, if you're like 20, 21, they think you're immature.
Yeah.
So you're struggling there as well.
Everybody's got their ideal candidates, I guess, but it's a problem. But there you go. You just got to get on with it.
So you've been. How long have you been in the SNP? Have you been a member?
In SNP, since I was 18. I joined up when I was 18. Probably started believing in it quite before. I can remember back to the Hamilton by-election, which Winnie Ewing won, which was a big breakthrough point for the SNP. That was in 68 or 69. So I'd be 12 or 13, so a bit sad really thinking about politics at that age, but never mind.
That's admirable to some though.
I was thinking about conspiracy theories at 13, so that's
right. Absolutely. Let's not get into
the lizards in Westminster.
Yeah, so I think as soon as I realised Scotland was actually a different country, I started questioning, well, why is the government down in London? Why are we taking our orders from London? And I've just never changed that view. I do not understand why one country would let another country make its decisions for them.
An argument we've seen for independence now is that Scotland votes generally has a more active voter base that's more to the left.
Yeah.
Was that true in the 60s? Because I think that was more sort of
I would
social.
say it's always true. Yeah, probably from the 60s. I think if you go back to the 50s, that was the last time in the UK that the Tories actually got a majority of the vote. And I think it was a 56 election, something like that. Mid-50s, there was actually quite a substantial Tory vote. Since the 60s, I think, the Harold Wilson government kind of changed things a wee bit. It seemed to bring. This is just from memory. This is not.
Yeah, I've got none of this. I've got none of this information in my head.
There was I remember the kind of a wee bit of a boost, a wee bit feel good factor when Harold Wilson got, because everybody thought he was going to change everything. As time went on, we see what's happened. Various all Westminster governments have treated us the same, basically. You know, we get the scraps, but you know, I think then come Thatcher in the 80s, that was the end of the Tories for good, definitely, and their vote just went down from that. Yeah, I think traditionally, obviously the Labour vote was backed by the unions. Unions were very strong in Scotland with the steel workers and the mine workers especially. So that, I guess, started to get eroded when those industries were stripped for Scotland basically by the Thatcher government. So answer, yes, I think they have always been more left-wing. Not always and forever. I think if you go further back, they possibly find some Tory supporters further back. They think they have a revival just now, but we'll see.
I've had this debate with a few people talking about the Tories, and I need to, it's becoming tiresome to explain that when Labour lose so many people, a lot of people in Labour aren't actually as left-wing as you think they are.
No.
They need to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And because the SNP don't have a monopoly on political voters, they're going to go somewhere else. And it appears that they're not going to the Liberal Democrats. So they've got Tories, and that's pretty much where they go. The Greens got an extra 4 MSPs, I think.
They did, yeah, because of the list system. They did well to get the extra MSPs. So the list system works for minor parties like the Greens. So it's good to see an alternative voice. As long as that voice is doing the right thing for Scotland, that's the thing.
So it's not as if the Tories are just railroading their way into Scottish politics.
No,
like it's a fair. You'd expect the second biggest party after Labour to be the opposition after Labour dies. That's pretty much what I would expect anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure why people are so upset about this. But
no,
not to worry. So you've been involved in community councils. Have you ever been a candidate for being a councillor or MSP?
I think 3 times. I stood in 2012 at the last local council elections. That was when we tried. You know, we decided locally to try for 3 councillors, and you know this ward has 4 councillors. We tried to get 3. In hindsight, it was probably a wrong decision. Certainly a wrong decision for me because I was first out on the first count. So we didn't get our tactics right that way. Further back in the early 90s, I was a candidate a couple of times, old district council, and it was kind of more or less just filling a space where we were struggling to get a candidate. I stood against the then Lord Provost Bert Guff. I don't know if you remember Bert from he was doing Buckhaven. He was a local character, Labour Lord Provost, so I didn't really have much chance, I guess.
David Alexander gave us a pretty much similar story.
Yeah.
That he stood a couple of times as
I
think it was an MP. I think he stood for.
Well, quite possibly. Yeah.
And he was like, "It's just because we needed a candidate. I wasn't expecting to win."
Sometimes you have to do what you've got to do, and it's better to have someone up than no one. It's been a long haul, you know. With SNP, but we've seen gradual improvement, I think, and I think that's a good thing. What's happened with the Scottish Parliament? Obviously, we had Liberal and Labour coalitions the first couple of parliaments, but people began to get a bit of confidence in the SNP. Could see that even in opposition, they were providing doing good work. And then they voted us in 2007, albeit in a coalition. But then in 2011, we won the majority, which shouldn't have happened because of the system. So we're back to a minority government now, and I think the gradual improvement has, it's culminated in 53 MPs at Westminster. and another victory at the Scottish Parliament. It's all about confidence. I knew once the Scottish people could see that we could make the big decisions, way back a long time ago, we would be dismissed because we weren't on the big stage. We could never make the breakthrough at Westminster. But once Holyrood came along, people saw that we could actually operate as a national party, if you like, and that we could make effective decisions. So it's good. I can only see it improving. That's
one thing that's hard for me to imagine, is the SNP being quite a small party. Because I remember just getting involved in politics due to the referendum. That was the first time I even took a
that was your first step away from the Illuminati.
Basically. But just to imagine the SNP, is it like, how small were you at that time? Like,
we were very small. Listen, I've been to some of our branch meetings where there was 3 men and a dog, and to be honest,
you've been to them.
To be honest, to be honest, the dog wasn't that keen to be there. It's a problem, But now we've got this big membership, over 100,000.
Is that not the second biggest?
It is. It's the second biggest in the UK. Unprecedented, really. So it's testament to we must be getting our message across. We must be.
I think a lot of that was luck from the independence referendum as well.
Well, I don't think it was luck. I think it was hard work.
I think luck as well.
Well,
because the independence referendum was a tough sell, and a lot of the sell from that wasn't only the SNP. There was a lot of people that were independent or for other political parties that were pushing for the independence referendum, who then went on to say to vote for the SNP.
Right.
So I think a lot of people. I'm not dismissing the SNP.
No.
The SNP done well, but I think that a lot of, not most of it by any means, but some of it was luck as well.
Aye.
I think the luck factor has been dismissed a wee bit, and it's not to bring the SNP down, but it's just to acknowledge that there were other political parties in play during the independence referendum, which I think are forgotten about a wee bit, because even now some people think the SNP were the only people that fought for independence, which is just slightly,
that wasn't true.
It's slightly offensive, to be honest, for other political parties. So I don't know where I was going with this. But the SNP, well done.
Well, thank you.
I thought you were going into say one.
Yeah.
So you haven't been an MSP. You've tried to be.
I've not beyond council. No, I haven't tried.
Is that purposely because you don't want to be an MSP? Because
I think it's a big step. Possibly, during the from sort of the end of 1990s to for about 10 years, I was working away a lot. I was down south for in total about 5 years, 2 separate spells. Working in Edinburgh, working in Glasgow, and it did kind of disrupt my political activity. I would just kind of dip in and out of campaigns, stuff like that. I would say I've kind of got a wee bit of regret that I didn't push myself further, but there you go. Life's moved on now. I mean, I've seen. Especially when you see all the representation we've got now, the elected representatives, some of them just being in the party a short period of time. But that's life, that was kind of my decision not to do it, really. Maybe I didn't have enough confidence in my abilities at that time. Maybe I see this as more my level. I'm happier on a local level. It's a big step up to put yourself on the national level, that's for sure.
I think confidence is a really worrying aspect in politics, because the people that don't have confidence don't stand.
Yeah.
And then you get people like David Coburn who are quite happy to stand at any point.
Yeah.
Don't know that man at all. No. I talk about him in every podcast we do.
It's because you love him so much, the good old Coburn.
He's a bumbling.
It's amazing to me that he's there.
Nah. He's Mr. Blobby, that's all he is. He's just bungling about.
Yeah. It's funny, like I say, I've always been active with an SNP and especially so back in the 80s and 90s.
Sorry, I'm laughing.
One of the responsibilities I had was vetting candidates,
right.
Mostly for council, and I've actually vetted some of the guys that are now got prominent positions in the Scottish Government. So yes, I do look back sometimes. I thought, I was deciding whether they could stand as councillors, and maybe I should have pushed myself back. But
does that include Peter Grant?
I have interviewed Peter, but Peter wasn't a problem. No, it's actually a couple of guys. We did a swap, so Central Region vetted our candidates, and we vetted Central Region, and two of the folk from Central Region are now ministers, Keith Brown and Angela Constance. So I interviewed both of them for when they were wanting to be councillors. But
so when you're going to be a councillor, you get interviewed.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And
by the SM.
Within
is
the
that to be a candidate?
To be a candidate.
Right, yes, that makes sense. I got totally...
and it's actually just got a lot tougher.
Is it?
Yeah, because it just...
Well, you became a much bigger party now. There's going to be
a much bigger party, but it's a huge job. If you think, come next May, at the full council elections, there'll be 900 to 1,000 candidates. So all these folk have got to be...
Just in this...
No, in Scotland.
In Scotland, aye.
Yeah, in Scotland. But for this by-election, I had to do a telephone interview with because the timescale was a bit short. I should have went in to headquarters, but timescale was really pushed. So I did an interview with three different folk on a conference call, and that lasted about 40 minutes. So it was. I've been to the headquarters one before in 2012. So we're setting up these procedures and trying to be a wee bit more rigorous, as you should do. As folk are going to be in the public eye representing you as a party. So we've been caught out, in the past, and we just need to be a bit more rigorous, and the parties taking steps to do that.
So, I lost my train of thought earlier.
Okay, yeah.
And I've got it back a wee bit.
Okay.
But it's not really... You're a candidate for council. You're not really... You're not talking about big national issues. You're talking about more local issues.
More local issues,
but this was just something I wanted to bring up. So if you're happy to discuss it, I'll happily bring it up. Yeah. Right, so Brexit was a thing that happened. What do you think of the campaign that the SNP had for Brexit?
I think, for over 20 years, the SNP policy has been an independent Scotland within Europe. We've always wanted to be part of Europe, and that's never been hidden. We've campaigned on it, and every election since the mid-90s. So that is always our position. So our position was to remain, obviously. And the actual campaign that we ran was, we weren't involved in or directly in the Remain campaign. It was kind of run from Westminster. Did we do enough campaign? It was difficult because we just come out of Scottish Government election, so activist fatigue steps in. So I'm not sure if our campaign, had it been different, we would have got any different result. It was fairly conclusive, 62 to 38 in favour of Remain. So I doubt we could have done much more to boost that figure. Going forward, like Nicola said, I've got a lot of this on the doorstep. It is an issue that folk support independence, but they don't support, they want it out of Europe. It is a
that's a camp.
I know there's there is a kind of dichotomy there, but we've always been clear what we wanted.
Yeah.
Nicola Sturgeon was First Minister for Scotland, and Scotland voted 62-38 to remain. So she has got to represent the majority of that vote, and I have to say the vote looks like it was cross-party. I don't see any significant trends that the vote was hugely the Tories that voted in or out, or hugely Labour that voted in or out, or us, or the SNP. So I think that vote was across party lines.
Yep.
But Nicola is First Minister for Scotland. She's got to represent the majority interest in Scotland. She's got to try and get the best deal for Scotland, because nobody else is going to do it. I know folk are getting annoyed saying, "Oh, we voted out, so just leave it at that." You know, it's not in our nature just to leave things. We've got to try and get the best deal possible for Scotland, whatever that is, and however. But we will be out. There's nothing going to stop that now, really. We will be out. We voted the UK voted to go out, so we will be out.
So here's the reason I brought up luck.
Yeah.
The SNP, or at least I don't want to speak for all of the SNP because I only follow a few select people, but the MPs and MSPs and a couple of the councillors that I follow specifically said to vote out of to stay in the EU in order to achieve Scottish independence. Now I found that to be pretty risky, and I have said well done to the SNP on how well that went for the SNP. People think I'm being smug and sarcastic when I say that, but
I totally thought you were being
I was genuinely saying it was well played by the SNP. I don't know if it was planned to be well played, but it worked out very, very well for them. Does the SNP see the resentment in England for the SNP in Scotland now?
I can definitely see the resentment, yeah.
Do you reckon that was part of the plan in order to let us help along with the independence?
I don't think it was part of the plan. You know, the English people will think whatever the English people want to think, really. We're not going to play on that resentment, that's for sure. But always, we try and get the best deal for Scotland. Purely within the SNP, as far as independence goes, that we think Scotland would be better off within Europe as an independent Scotland. Our own voice at the top table, like Ireland, like all the small countries around, and that way we can get the best deal for Scotland. There's nobody going to tell me that our Scottish farmers have got the best deal. Nobody going to tell me that the Scottish fishermen have got the best deal. I mean, the Scottish fishermen are, lay the blame fairly and squarely at their demise at EU's door, but it's really the UK that has negotiated that deal, and they have not looked to the best interests of the Scottish fishermen over the years. Right,
well, as I say, you didn't need to answer any of that, but I appreciate you playing along. So, back to being a councillor. To you, what do you think are the most important issues in this sort of area?
In the area, I think probably, certainly in Kennoway, the Sandy Brae Community Centre under threat. The council is doing a bit of a cash grab on hall budgets, and they look to close a lot of the community centres. It's ridiculous that a centre that has boxing and creche and a gym and keep fit and all the rest of it that goes on should be shut down, whereas a hall up on Leven Road, which only has one use for the Scouts, is it?
The youth club.
Or youth club, sorry. Which could easily be relocated. I mean that where that hall is, if that could be taken down and made into a car park and to upgrade the facilities up at the sports centre, that would be a much better use. What are they actually going to do with the Sandy Brae Centre? It's been said, my sister Andrew Rutherford, is on the committee, because she uses I think it's a Keep Fit she goes through, so she's their representative, one of the representatives on the Sandy Brae committee, and the committee is thinking that the council want the land, want to knock down the school. Well, that's true or not, I don't know, but I'm not sure that's actually suitable for development, because there's no access either at the back or at the front. The access at the one road in is not ideal. No. So I'm not sure what they would actually do with that building. But what they are doing, and it's happening down in Leven as well, Leven Centre are getting their budget cut as well. And it's just about a cash grab. Levenmouth centres have taken 50% of the savings that they need to make for the whole of Fife, as far as the community centres are concerned. 50% just from Levenmouth. That's wrong. It's got to be wrong. Yeah. It should be shared throughout Fife if there's going to be cuts and closures, so it should be. It shouldn't all be on, or certainly half it shouldn't come from Levenmouth. They've already, got the library closures through, and now they're looking to target the community halls.
Is there a big call for libraries still? Because
I think so, yeah.
As far as I could see, I would assume that libraries would be sort of falling behind a wee bit.
No, I don't think so.
In favour for internet or...
Well, that's part of it, but you can go on the internet in the library. They're used a lot by unemployed folk, I have to say.
Yeah,
because they can't afford access in their homes, so they have to go along and do their job searches. And we've spoke about the sanctions that can be done if you don't do your job searches. So they a vital resource for them. But I think everything should be done to encourage kids along to read. Reading is a fantastic thing to teach your kids, and it opens up all sorts of opportunities. I think there's other things going on, certainly some of the bigger libraries. There's mother and toddlers groups go along and get them introduced to reading. And over the years, I listened, there was a wee clip on a programme. It was one of the folk through, I think it was North Ayrshire or someplace, and that was about a campaign. And there was one poet came up, unfortunately I can't remember his name, but it was on BBC Scotland just the other day. He says if it hadn't been for the ability to go into the library and read the books that he read, he would never have got into poetry. He would never. He's now making a living at poetry, and you can't just dismiss things like that. I mean, there's two things, isn't there? There's the knowledge that you gain, but there's also the exposure to the arts. So I think libraries are an excellent resource and should be kept open.
I think it's one of the things we forget, that because we didn't go to the library, we've got the internet, we're able to kind of do everything in that sense, that we kind of get to the point where we're like, do people still go?
Well, but my argument isn't that I'm fine with libraries being called libraries, but you could have a library on a much smaller and cheaper scale. Nowadays you've got ebooks. You could have an entire library on a few iPads. You don't need to. How much? I don't know how much a library costs, but presumably you could scale down libraries and still save money and still have libraries. You could still have a few computers in a small hall.
The thing I'd say about that is, first of all, a couple of things. Not everybody has access to a Kindle or a laptop.
No. I'm saying, but if you could scale down the building, you could have an entire library in a matter of a few iPads.
Right, and folk go along there. Aye. Right, okay. Well, that is
presumably that would save money.
Yeah. The thing as well is you've such a variety of subjects. All right, you can get everything on the internet, but like I say, not everybody is comfortable on the internet. I mean, the folks still like to leaf through books and go into the reference section and look up censuses, history of their town, and they can do that in one visit, sort of thing. A lot easier, maybe, for them than try to find things on the internet. Not everybody is internet savvy, even if they have access. They're not always finding what they want. But I agree that but you should look at some way of marrying the two resources.
Maybe I don't know, making stuff up now at this point. Maybe over the course of a couple of decades, maybe sort of slowly moving libraries to online, so that you could also push for programs to learn how to use technology.
The thing about that is there's also the social aspect. If you make everything available online, nobody's going to go out their house. Nobody's going to go out and meet folk and talk to folk, and that is happening right now. You know yourself, a lot of the young folk sometimes they disappear for weeks, and they've been on their computers forever.
There's a great instance. You were at the youth club the other day. I used to work at the youth club. We were talking about years ago, and
10 years ago.
About 10 years ago. Aye, Jesus. We went up and there was maybe about 3 or 4 people there when we were in. Because when I was there was like maybe 50 at a time, usually most of the time. Yeah. And it's just due to people. Well, it's not just gaming and stuff like that, but there's just a lot of people that they could do stuff in their house. They didn't need to go out and do sort of things like that. It's kind of disheartening.
There has to be an element in society where you try and encourage folk to come out and interact, and even more so nowadays to actually get folk out, talk to each other, because that then kicks off all sorts of other discussions, and I just feel if you confine everybody to the house, the community spirit's gone, and that's where divisions come in. We're losing a lot of there's not so much folk going to pubs during the week and stuff like that. There's still a big drink culture in Scotland, of course, but
it's understatement of the year.
But there's a lot of the social aspects of that have been lost as well. So we can't keep cutting away and pushing everybody back into their houses. We need them to be out and about and up the street, looking at their shop local, which is another thing. But going into the library, meeting folk. There is a lot of older folk. It's a big resource for older folk as well. They love their books, and they tend. It does kind of tend, I think, to be the older folk and younger folk, but I still think vital resource.
So basically my ideas are pish. That's what we're establishing.
Oh, that's
basically, Craig, that's it.
That's entirely your
right, so you had a bit of a rant the other day on Facebook about Colin Davidson.
Oh, right, yeah, about
UCG.
His plan to support any ban on UCG. Well, he's kind of missed the boat on that, because back in October, the Scottish Government, announced that they were blocking UCG.
This may have been made in August.
Well, it may have been. That was a bit prescient of him. I doubt it would have been, actually, but the Scottish Government have got. They're using the planning system to block any development of UCG. Ultimately, of course, what they would like to do is get Westminster to ban issuing licences. Once again, we're stuck with this thing where we're waiting on Westminster doing something. Meanwhile, we've got to do what we can. So the Scottish Government have said unequivocally that they will block the UCG through the plan process, and they would like Westminster to stop issuing licences.
I remember when there was a debate in Scottish Parliament about this. I think it was about this. This is fracking.
This is fracking,
right?
Yeah.
Different names have got me all confused and that. So there was a Scottish Parliament debate on this, and I remember Labour voting for a ban and the SNP didn't, and the people that are normally on my side were talking about how the SNP will support fracking and all this. I tried to explain to people, they'd posted this article that was written by some expert, and they said that the expert said that the SNP were in the wrong. But when you read the article, the guy said that there was a difference, and if you supported a ban, you would need to go to court with it. And the SNP were supporting the moratorium in order to not need to go to court, because if you go to court, you might lose. And if you lose, you've got fracking in Scotland. And this seemed to just be a political ploy by Labour in order to get the SNP on the back foot again. And it seemed I don't know if it's worked or not. It didn't seem to have worked.
What, from whose point of view? From Labour's
From Labour's point of view.
You think so?
I don't think it's...
You don't think it is? No, I don't think so either. No, I mean, you've explained it just as well or better than I probably could have. That's probably. Exactly what yeah.
Don't give them any. Just
No, credit where credit's due. Absolutely. You could take it through the courts, and we all know that could stretch on forever. So the Scottish Government have said they will block it through the planning process. That's what they can do right now. What they want the Westminster Government to do is to stop issuing licences, and that's where we are at the moment. So I'm afraid Mr Davidson won't get any chance to vote for a ban anytime soon.
Well, of course, as an impartial podcast, we'll give him the chance that it might have been printed on August.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So that's fair enough for us. In your leaflet, there's a specific dig at 5 Labour. Labour cannot be trusted, is what it's.
I just love the fact that during your leaflet you had time just to really get in at them.
Well, they've got more fun than the Labour. They could get better.
I don't know about that.
You've got a better leaflet.
Yeah, okay.
And you've got a picture of Nicola Sturgeon, which costs money, I would imagine. So you were complaining about complaining like you're a woman about the closures of schools and libraries across Fife.
Yeah.
So as a sceptic and as someone who wants to notice problems, we had a look for school closures by SNP councils, and they couldn't find any. That was annoying. I was wanting one.
Oh dear.
To be fair, we
didn't
had
have
5 minutes to do it.
Yeah, 5
minutes.
So you might have got lucky there. But
we're only able to find
minutes,
the article. So
that's annoying. So I've got none to pick you up there.
I'll take your word for that.
We'll be checking afterwards. You've got an email.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
We'll have something ready for Thursday.
When you're not here to defend yourself.
Exactly.
Be perfect. Right, so in this part, so Labour promised to take responsibility for their decisions and not blame anyone else. The reality is that when things go well, Labour will turn up for the picture for the paper, but when things don't go well, they just blame the Scottish Government, their partners and their own staff.
Well, yeah, I think so, and they ignore the fact how well I think the Scottish Government have been doing. There is £100 million extra for education this year. The NHS is actually the best NHS in the UK, despite all folk take individual bad stories and blow it up.
Always hated that.
The overall picture is great. I had a guy the other day, yesterday in fact. I put a leaflet through the door. They weren't in. By the time I got round the other side of the street, they'd arrived back in a car and they came running across. And he started off, I've always been SNP, but now I don't think I will be voting this time. I said, why is that? He says, the NHS. And he started off, and he was interspersing his bad story with his wife's good story.
That's got to be
and I couldn't. I said, well, look, no organisation will get everything right. Yeah, let's face it. The NHS is the best NHS in the UK at the moment. We're putting extra money in to train extra nurses, but we've got this barrage of SNP bad stories in the media and the press and the telly all the time, and folk are picking up on that. the NHS is in very good shape. We're putting extra money into education. We've got the new Levenmouth Academy down there with money for Scottish Government. Both schools were needing replaced, so we've done that. We've got a nice modern facility, and hopefully it'll do the area great for
going good. I've seen some videos it looks good.
It's much better than Buckhaven.
Well, that's it. And it's got a tie-up with Fife College, and the new smaller energy part that's going up at Muir Edge, that's going to provide opportunities for apprenticeships. The apprenticeship scheme overall in Scotland has been boosted. I think it's 25,000 off the top of my head. I'm not 100% sure about it. I think it's 25,000 apprenticeships.
We'll get you with that on Thursday as well.
Yeah, that's fine. You can check my facts later. So, I think we're doing well, and Fife Labour they are the party in power on Fife Council. They go on about budget cuts. The Fife Council's budget was cut by 6 million. That sounds a lot. It is a lot of money, I suppose. But that's from a budget of over $1 billion. So, you're talking about a tiny percentage. We've managed to freeze the council tax over the past 9 years. We have made moves now to take some more money in from council tax from the richest, from those with the higher value houses, and that money will be getting spent throughout Scotland. Like I say, 100 million extra for education. So I still think we're doing an excellent job, and folk need to look past all the headlines and actually get some of the facts.
I was going to talk about the NHS, but we've went past that topic now. So that's pretty much all I've got to grill you on, to be honest. I don't really have much else. So I guess we'll go on to why people should vote for you and not Colin Davidson.
Yeah, I mean, I think just the fact that I know this area from top to bottom. I've born and bred here. I lived here virtually all my life. Born a few years in Edinburgh, 6-7 years in Edinburgh. Even then, I was, all my family was back here, so I never lost touch at all. I've got a history of community involvement. I enjoy working with people. Over the past 4 years on the community council, spoke to a lot of the public, had public meetings. I know a lot of the issues, from dog dirt to dodgy street lights. So I know the things that bug folk, and I will work hard. Definitely work hard. I like to think I protect the wee guy and the wee gal in the street. I'll work hard to do that. We'll have regular surgeries, of course, and be contactable all the time. I've actually, since I started the campaign, my contact details are been on the literature, and I've taken about 6 or 7 phone calls already. Folk thinking I can do something for them. So what I've done is take their details. I could
help you on the 15th of December.
Well, I've said that to them obviously, but I've taken their details and passed them on to either Davy Alexander or Jenny Gilruth or Peter Grant, to whoever was appropriate. So that's what I'll do. I'll look after the folk that, not just the folk that vote for me, but everyone in the ward, because I do care about the ward. I've virtually lived here all my life. All my family's here, and I'll work hard at being a good councillor.
Mm-hmm. So, would you be standing next year as well? I don't know much about council by-elections and stuff.
Well, this was just about the last opportunity. If it went much later, if Ali had resigned later than when he did, there wouldn't have been a by-election. It would have just went to the May council election.
But this will just go on till May.
This will
and then
just go on till
again.
May, and I'll have to stand
Oh,
again.
Jesus, that's
yeah.
It's quite a short
but
time as well.
I've enjoyed it. It's been tremendous speaking to a lot of folk on the doorstep. I've had a few laughs. I haven't kissed any babies, but I've patted a lot of dogs. down, please. I've patted a lot of dogs. Everybody's got a dog these days.
I'm allergic to dogs, so you don't have to worry about that.
Okay. So I'm looking forward to Thursday, and hopefully we'll get a decent turnout. Traditionally, these by-elections are a bit low, but hopefully we'll get a few out. Let's hope the snow stays away.
What do you think your chances are for this? Like you've been endorsed by Peter, Jenny, and Ali yourself. Actually, you've been endorsed.
John Swinney was here yesterday. I know
Deputy SNP.
I know John from a long time ago, and I was glad to see him come along and give me his support. Some
Are you confident?
There
confident?
to live up to. So, likes of Peter Grant and Jenny, I've worked with him in the recent campaigns. I've known Peter since late 80s. I've known him forever, and I'm looking forward to
we're trying to get
part of the team, you know.
We're in the middle of trying to get Peter on the podcast, so if there's any...
And Jenny as well.
Well, Jenny said after...
Oh, you spoke to her?
After New Year. Not Jenny, but Jenny's... agent or whatever. So if you can speak to Peter and say the two guys are amazing.
I'll tell them you don't bite.
just be nice and we'll be cool.
Just tell them to bring tea cakes and we'll be absolutely fine.
No tea cakes because they're not Scottish.
That's right.
The fake nationalists sitting here.
Well, the thing is, the thing about these boycotts is the factory is still in Addington, so.
But they hate Scotland.
You don't want to. No, well.
They hate Scotland.
Tell you what, they could bring Quaker porridge oats. I like porridge.
They like porridge oats.
It's what a weird thing to bring. Like you bring biscuits, but bring porridge oats. That's fine.
Is a tea cake a biscuit?
Well, that's a good.
There's a debate I didn't want to get into there.
I think an online poll.
It's more cream than anything else.
Do an online poll about if Tunnocks Teacake is a cake or a biscuit.
Absolutely.
I reckon it's probably going to be. Well, they said on QI that the difference between a biscuit and a cake is that a cake goes hard and a biscuit goes soft.
Right.
Or thereabout. One of the two.
Well,
tea cakes go soft.
Tea cakes go soft. So which one would that be again? I forgot which one was
that would be a biscuit.
What did you say? That would be a biscuit. It's a biscuit base with just marshmallow in it. So that's a cake.
It's not exactly crispy as a biscuit. So that's the thing.
It's a
sort
crumble.
It's
a crumble sort of thing.
No shortbread. That's ridiculous. That's nonsense, Craig. What are you talking about? Why you got a podcast if you didn't even come what a tea cake is? Idiot.
Talking about Tunnocks Teacakes.
I totally forgot about this question. Right, so this is just for me. This is most people probably won't care about this. But a thing that's got me really annoyed and disillusioned with politics lately has been political point scoring. We talked about it a wee bit with Labour, with the ban on fracking and stuff like that. So I've noticed, for instance, the National done a bit on this Peter Nuttall guy, or I think the UKIP leader, Paul Nuttall, about the fact they hate Scotland, and that was the only thing they played on. They didn't talk about the fact that he was against climate change and stuff like that. I've seen councillors and MSPs and MPs and that play political games instead of actually answering with facts and talking about facts. You see it all the time on Westminster TV. Is that something that you'd be willing to say that you will not do? Because it's easy to be caught out in a lie on this one. But it's something that's... I feel like the way the system works just now, it works in favour of people who know how to debate as opposed to people who know what the facts are. And I think that's always going to end badly for people, which is why we've got Tories in charge, which is why Labour went so right-wing, is because you didn't need to be right, you just need to know how to debate. And I think that's a painful, really annoying fact.
Everything's on the media these days. I mean... I've certainly tried in my messages to be positive. I always try to be positive and promote a positive case for the area. I've done it a lot in leaving. I don't see the point in knocking things down. It does inevitably creep into some of the campaign. You've just said, I've slagged off Fife Labour Council. Inevitably, when it comes to a contest. When it comes to a contest, you've got to. It's okay saying, well done. At one point, you've got to, go for the jugular if you like.
So that's a no.
I will always try to be positive.
That's my favourite question now.
That's a good answer as well.
That's a pretty good answer.
It's not a yes or a no.
Right, so we've had a debate on Tunnocks Teacakes. We've talked about politics. We've talked about why you should be the councillor. Is there anything else you want to say before we go off air? Off air. We're not on.
On a pre-recording.
No, just I hope folk come out and vote. That's the main thing. Please come out and vote. Don't let it go down below 20%. I don't think it will. Let's try and get above 25%. That would be great to see a bit higher level of interest, and that it's always nice to know that folk are engaged. But very difficult circumstances. 2 weeks before Christmas, might be snow on the ground. Who knows what? But please come out and vote. And I hope if you like what you've heard, then vote for me.
Excellent.
Well, thanks very much for coming on.
Thank you, Craig and Steve.
Thanks, man.
Cheery bye, I guess.
Thank you.
Cheery bye.
Goodbye.